worth infinitely more than money. And I want to see a world in 5 years where myself and many, many other people, hopefully everyone, can live a life that completely fulfills and addresses their soul, not just the almighty green dollar.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge every Wednesday. Today I have a guest, Alexander DeRidder. Welcome to the show, Alexander.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you being here, but I kind of wanted to jump right in because you have some interesting things that you can talk about here. Tell me about SmythOS.
SmythOS. It's a platform to build AI agents and run them without having to code. Visual drag and drop interface. Agents are going to change your world. They're going to rock your world. Agents are the future of organic search. Brand agents are going to be representing you and your company inside of all the AI assistants as search is moving from query-based search to conversational search. And all the big companies are fighting to get your attention with their AI assistant. You want to build your brand agent once and then deploy it everywhere. The second way agents are going to change your world is that you can have AI colleagues, not just remote workers, but actual AI colleague blended teams with your human teams. Agents are different from regular AI because they can do stuff. They can send emails, they can dispatch a drone, they can interact with HubSpot, they can reason over text, video, audio, multimodal capabilities. Deploying all that until recently was a lot of work. You had to do APIs and server and encryption and authentication. SmythOS takes care of all of that. And to top it off, you have the ability for agents to collaborate with each other to solve problems. You can have a writer agent, an editor agent, a publisher agent, and they can all work together to achieve your outcome, which is put great copy on your website, for example. So we can rethink the organization, we can rethink business, we can rethink marketing, and agents are how we're going to do that. SmythOS is the infrastructure, the environment where you want to build this. It makes it ridiculously easy.
Yeah, when I was reviewing your website, I saw you have a big chunk on there that says rethink work. Not human versus AI, but humans multiplied by AI. And I love that because too many people are worried about, oh, am I going to lose my job, et cetera. But instead, they could literally create a team of AI agents that could work for them and with them rather than trying to put them out of a job. So that's kind of a cool idea. What got you to come up with this idea? What was the impetus?
Well, getting punched in the face, but not in a physical way. ChatGPT has impacted a lot of businesses when it
Yes.
came out. And if it hasn't impacted you yet, then just wait till it's coming, because GPT 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 is going to come for you. So if you're not ready, it's coming for you. If you're not prepared, it is. So you got to be prepared. I'm one of the first ones to feel my business, my SaaS, to be impacted by it. And I had to pivot because of necessity. And the lessons I've learned in that process, we have imparted to you, to our customers, our early adopters, because they can now, every time there's a new AI out, Smith orchestrates it all. It's a chance to cheer and pivot and adapt quickly. And it's the survival of the most adaptable companies out there. The world is going a lot faster than it used to, and we all are feeling that.
Yeah, it's true. It's we were just talking about what the technology landscape is going to look like in 5 years. And of course, everyone you talk to, they all say the same thing. AI is going to be embedded into almost everything that you see, touch, whatever. I mean, I can even see it slowly creeping into automotive. When I was at CES, there was a lot of automotive AI products that were being pushed. To me, I have to say though, with the green energy and electric cars these days, to me, the most exciting innovation I saw there was a over-air charger that mounts in your garage, and then a piece mounts under the electric car, and you just pull the car over it. You don't have to actually be, it doesn't have to actually be touching It just has to be over the top of it. And then it works a lot like a MagSafe charger would work. Just instantly wireless charge the car. Thought it was probably the most innovative thing that I saw there for cars anyway.
Yeah,
But
except for
AI
the
was
fact
everywhere.
except for the fact that you have to install those under three chargers everywhere, and that will take up a lot of metal and energy and infrastructure. And it's probably more efficient that you start out renovating existing charging stations with fast charging points and fast charging batteries. And once you have that, you can start thinking about maybe rolling out such self-charging technology underground with maybe some of the most trafficked highways, for example, or in context of public transportation. There is this project, I think it's in China, where they made a tram, but the tram entirely it runs on wheels like a car, but it uses AI to fully coordinate all of the wagons to be aerodynamic and take out the wind from each other in perfect alignment. And it uses kind of that self-charging from underneath the ground. So the benefit of that is you have to only do it in one lane. And because it is public transit, you do it in places that have a lot of throughput, and therefore these lanes are used at high frequency, and so the ROI of it makes sense. But I am looking forward to this. One of the big pitfalls of electric cars, I think, is that we don't yet have solid state battery technology commonplace, which would allow you to fully charge your car in a time it would take you to fill up your tank with gas. And I think that's essential. We don't have a half an hour to wait just to sit there around waiting and taking up that real estate. Plus, what happens to the other 1,000 cars that are needing charging? Imagine sometimes in a highway scenario, the line for who can go to fill up their tank is already pretty long. Or if there's a hurricane coming and you see the gas stations lining up. Now imagine that all took for each individual car would take 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes longer. You'd basically never get around to charging your car. Which means then you need better infrastructure at homes and so forth. But on the road, it does not solve the problem. So we really do need breakthroughs in battery technology before I think that electric vehicles can go really mainstream. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's an interesting thing, a discussion to have because like I live in Las Vegas and I have children that live in Los Angeles. And so almost virtually the dead center point on the drive is this place called Eddie World. And it's just a giant like candy store with a huge gas station attached to it. But it also has a ton of electric vehicle chargers. And the complaint that you hear from people there is like, oh, it's taking an hour to charge my car. And it doesn't take an hour to add gas to a vehicle. So one of the things I've been hearing lately is how road trips are so difficult in an electric vehicle because you have to obviously you have to charge at certain points. And if you have to keep like read a story recently about someone went from some news agency went from New York City to Washington D.C. and I want to say that that's a 4 hour drive and it took them something like 8 or 10 hours because they had to keep stopping to charge the car. You're right. If they could get it to the point where the charge was, at least close to how fast it is when you gas up, not only would more people embrace it, but I also think it would just make the whole infrastructure work better because I've seen the lines. Like we have a Lowe's up the street here that has the chargers, and the lines waiting to use those chargers is insane. So, but the newer houses these days, here in Vegas anyway, they're being built with the fast charging systems built into them.
Nice.
But I think it's a little slow right now. I'm kind of surprised that
Yeah.
someone like Elon Musk isn't pushing that issue, a little harder. But
Oh, he's
interesting take on
he
that.
is doing what is the best ROI. I mean, he's investing into battery technology advancements, and he is investing in charging infrastructure and fast charging. Those are the highest dollar for dollar impact you can have. Think about the US highway system. You cannot imagine breaking up every road and putting magnetic charging, wireless charging in every road. It's just like trillions of dollars to just redo all streets like that, right?
Right.
Not practical versus, invest $10 billion into next gen battery technology research as a country put grants, put researchers, put universities behind that. And when we have, when Asia is leading in such technologies, but when we have such breakthroughs, cars can become very practical. I mean, just hooking it up to power and 10 minutes later, you got 200 miles of range. That's a game changer, right? And so cars are getting better, batteries are getting better, infrastructure is getting better. The ability for AI to plan with where you should stop ahead of time along your route, knowing where the charging stations are, knowing what the wait time is, and kind of intelligently routing there. That will help as well. And then self-driving will also help because, if you can have self-driving cars, they can go and they can drop you off at a restaurant you actually want to eat at while it goes and charges itself at a nearby supercharger and then come back. So that would be nice versus eating, not that it's always bad, but charging station, highway, restaurant food, right?
Right. So how long have you been in
Sightseeing.
the tech industry?
Well, studied computer science, 4 years, university in Belgium, University of Ghent, got out around 2003, 4, and started in a marketing company as a developer, built some of the first email tracking pixels known to humankind. Back then it was with Perl and CGI. As Web3 was not really a thing yet. Web2 was not really a thing yet. then migrated to the United States in 2006, continued to work as a developer. 2008, I got a job where I got to work on machine learning problems with computer vision, into 2012, where we saw that neural networks and CUDA accelerated graphic card assisted deep learning was taking over. Extrapolated that with my marketing experience, and said Google will find this irresistible to make their content algorithms better, to judge quality of content, not just based on the number of backlinks you got, which can easily be gained, but the actual quality of content. And so started working on semantic embeddings for content, to kind of reverse engineer the kind of content that the Google indexer would prioritize based on search intent. Got a few patents around that. Started a marketing agency where we applied these technologies and got some of our clients from 2.8 million visitors per month to 240 million per year, over the last 6-7 years, with this kind of optimization. Then in 2019, we decided to productize that. That became Ink for All. Ink for All has more than 1.3 million people on our email list of people who have used their product. It's gotten a lot of recognition. It's a beautiful, complete software for helping with SEO. However, when ChatGPT came out, all of the interest of the world got into generative AI, and we saw a lot of potential threat from AI assisted everything. That just became, it was interesting. Prior to ChatGPT, businesses were dismissing us when we talked about AI. After ChatGPT, it's the only thing businesses could talk about anymore. But all the crypto bros are now AI experts as well. So it became a very crowded landscape. And so what we did then in spring last year, we were among the first 40 ChatGPT plugins in the market with SEO.app. And we saw in 1 week, we saw tens of thousands of people sign up. We had more monthly active users in a short amount of time than we did in Ink in all the years prior. And we said, wow, this is the future. However, building that plugin, building that AI agent, making that pivot was not easy. It was a lot of coding, API building, and everything. Authentication was a total disaster. Auth0 was sending us a $20,000 proposal before we had even monetized our plugin. And we're like, yep, no, that's a high bill for pre-monetization right there. So we had to come up with solutions. We had to solve problems. And we figured that this was going to impact the world so much. We wanted to get ready and build a platform that could help other people make that transition more easily without having to go through the months and months of development, hosting infrastructure, and dealing with all those problems. So today you can do that with Smyth in a very straightforward way.
When will the SmythOS be available to the public?
General availability will be late in February. Right now we're in early access. We have about 100 slots in early access. 22 are filled. as of time of recording, so I don't know when this airs, but if you want to have access earlier, you should contact us on the SmythOS, Smith with a Y, .com website and ask about early access offer, because the early access offer is quite attractive. It's a deal we're not going to repeat after this. So, but if you want to wait until general availability, it will be available in February.
Awesome, awesome. So over your career, what would you say has been your biggest struggle?
I think there's nothing like one singular big thing that stands out. It's just a culmination of everyday struggle and everyday challenges and everyday improvement. There's not like this one thing that made all the difference. People talk about this in web marketing all the time. It's almost like taking a magic pill where you regrow your hair or your skin becomes like 20 years old again. Doesn't exist. Now, even SmythOS and Ink for All are not magic bullets that just solve your problems magically. The thing is like growth and learning is just a continual process. And every day, even today, you learn things, you grow from it, and you write those things down that you learn, and you try not to make those mistakes again, and you try to grow from it. And I think that is the biggest learning I have over my career, is to never stop learning and never stop improving. They're not always going to be giant decisions. Usually success is a sum of a lot of very small but good decisions that just add up over time.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with you on that. I think if I was asked that question, I would probably answer in a similar way. It's about growth over time, and as long as that's happening, the obstacles, so to speak, are minor because you get past them. So where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? What do you think you'll be doing?
5 years from now, I think that I'll just go philosophical for a moment, but I've always seen the current economic condition of humans in the West and around the world as a form of slavery, because we often have to do things that we don't enjoy because we have no choice. We have to pay bills. Now, I say that because in the country I'm from Belgium, I learned the history of Flanders, and there was a feudal system, and there were landlords, like literally people that had castles and servants and everything, and then they owned the land. And so 99% of the population who was not in that castle or so, uh, enjoying life, you would basically be renting the land, producing on the land, and then basically giving the majority of what you make just for being able to continue to living off the land and make a little bit of money just so you can sustain and provide for your family. So there was never really a moment where you were economically free. You could have all the rights. You could have the right to just pack up your bags and leave. You could have that right. You didn't have to stay there and work the land. You could pack up your bags and go. But where else were you going to get food for your family? How else were you going to provide? There was no alternative. So it was a form of servitude that you had to the people that owned the system, owned the land. Now, today, money is not very different. How many people have to work because they have to somehow be able to provide? This is why movements are so popular about like create passive income so you can basically do what you want. And there's so many videos online about like get rich and build your passive income and rich dad, poor dad, and all those resources, right? They're all talking about this. How do you escape that, right? And so I'm at the point in my career where I could theoretically say, you know what, I'm kind of there, but my lifestyle would have to be accordingly modest, and I have family and expectations and so forth, which are which could be disrupted. I could decide to live a simpler life and tell the people around me to just like be okay with that. But in 5 years from now, I want to be in a position where the only work I'll ever do is work that I completely choose and want to do. And I'm fortunate enough today to be able to do both. I'm able to work and for making money and to do something I enjoy. But it would be nice, I think, that in the exploration of the human experience, there are things I would love to do that have no monetary value. And so in the current state, there's a lot of those things that I can't afford to do because it would set my career back. And I think we all need a little bit more of that in our lives. And I'm hoping that with the technology I'm making, contributions I'm making to the field, opportunities I help create in that way for myself and the people that work with me, I can get people to such a future quicker. And I hope that people can do work that they find meaningful, that fulfills them, that is true soul craft, not just for money, but soul craft. And if that means origami or folding paper airplanes, if that what fulfills your soul and what you want to do, go and do it. Delight the world with your origami creation than your foldable airplanes. Not everything worth doing has to be economically productive. Some things are beautiful just for the way they are. And I will just give one last argument for that, and it's kind of a checkmate. Right? Mothers are doing the most valuable job on this planet and are often the least paid for it. So you can't tell me that I'm wrong about this feeling. I believe that there's things worth doing that are worth infinitely more than money. And I want to see a world in 5 years where myself and many, many other people, hopefully everyone, can live a life that completely fulfills and addresses their soul, not just the almighty green dollar.
Yeah, I have to applaud you for that. I feel like, I've raised 4 children, and it's probably cost me way more than I would have ever made. And it's the most fulfilling thing I've done in my life is, raising the 4 children, watching them grow into adulthood. They're all adults, all 4 of them, and watching them grow into adulthood and choose their career paths and work hard to get there. My youngest daughter graduated university in 3 years, with a full scholarship. But even having a full scholarship, she didn't just sit around and go, "Oh, I have 4 years to finish this." She got her work done, and she's already working in her chosen career path. 3 of the 4 are. It's just an exciting thing to watch. But you're right. I think that too many people. I think of the gig economy. Like people driving for like DoorDash or whatever, and those companies just keep squeezing them tighter and tighter. And when they're asked, well, why do you continue to do it? It's because it's really literally they're desperate for the money that it provides them. And even though the amount of money keeps shrinking, that's their only option. So they do it. And so it does kind of feel to me like they're slaves to
And
that.
honestly,
You
it's
said
it's
that.
a scam too, because the what you're often doing is you're trading equity in your vehicle for money. You're not actually
Yes.
making money because yes, you made money, but your car now has more mileage and lost value. It depreciated. And before you know it, you stop driving, but now your car is worn out, needs tons of repairs and replacement, and you're going to pay that with the money that you earned. So yeah, and now they're even moving to push more and more of that economic part to tips and putting it, increasing
On the
the
customer.
cost and the customers. So they're not even wanting to really pay their drivers, even though they're functionally being told where to go and so forth and so on. Yeah, the gig economy is a really good example of just like it's a form of economic slavery. The moment you get to that state in the economy, you are no better than a feudal farmer who is just farming off the land of the king. And you end up not owning even the land that you're working on. People are drowning in debt. And so this is a societal problem. The United States has a history of aspiring for freedom for people. And I am surprised that we're not more talking about this today. The more more than oppression and slavery just by based on color and just legal status. We have entire groups of people who are economically enslaved, who are economically exploited. The entire I shouldn't go political, but it is it's a universal issue. I think bipartisan. We can see the injustice of undocumented people being exploited for labor in this country, whether we're benefiting from it or not. And yet we all are. We all are benefiting from it. But it is unjust in a country that prides itself on its freedom for us to have a secondary class of people here doing work for less money. It is just not just. And whether that means better border control or regularization of their immigration status, that's the political issue. I'm not going to comment on that, but we should all agree that whether you're whoever you are, right? The vast majority in this country of people not free from an economic point of view. We are forced to go work in conditions we don't enjoy, and so forth and so on. So we need to get to a point where we can celebrate the human soul and the human spirit. I believe that with artificial intelligence, robotics, we can raise the economic output of the country sufficiently while lowering the cost of many services so significantly that it is possible for the first time in human history to basically take care of everyone's essential needs and create true opportunities for people to explore soulcraft instead of just economic servitude. And so I'm really passionate about this. I believe that we can do this together. As a society, we can stand up for what's right and do right by people. We need to talk about this more because it is a great injustice. And I'm just going to close that thought with this. When there was slavery in America, okay, in the states that had slavery, the people thought it was a normal thing. All throughout history, there was slavery. They thought it was a normal thing. Only now we look at it, and some people thought it wasn't. But only today we are looking at this part of history and say, that was really wrong. And so there is a moment when people start speaking up and people say, wait a minute, yeah, that isn't right. Why are we doing this? This is just such a time, right? So when I speak about this today, it may seem like, well, it's just normal. I get a job, I make money. It's a fair trade, right? No, it's not really a fair trade because you don't really have a choice. And the absence of choice is lack of freedom, right? That's not true freedom. If you have lack of choice, you're coerced because otherwise you can't feed your family. And I think that that made sense for a long time of history, just like other things in the past, but it just stops making sense with all the innovation and the progress and the technology we have. People should be able to pursue their heart and what nurtures their soul. And I would like to see that happen in my lifetime. We're not going to have to fight a civil war for it. But if one day in the history books, they can say, there were people talking about it. And just like people who spoke up against other forms of slavery and oppression in the past and broke that conversation, I hope to be at least a small piece towards that better and more just future.
Well, I think that's a perfect exclamation point to put on this interview. I really like what you had to say there. And I actually completely agree with you. I think that the problem that I see, and I keep advocating for, so years ago, I was a CTO for one of the first restaurant delivery services in the country. And we were paying our drivers like a minimum $15-20 per drop off. And I'm seeing these people getting paid $2. So I've been really vocal advocate for them to, stand up and demand changes. Too many people, they just wallow in the, well, this is what I have to do, instead of stepping up. So it's nice to hear someone like you say, that you want to advocate for people, fixing these kind of situations, because it's terrible for people to have to live like that. But this has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate your input on everything. Where can the listeners connect with you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me under Alexander DeRidder, ADRIDDER, AD Ritter online. And I'm also on Twitter, although I consume more than I post. Yeah, you can check out what we're doing at SmythOS.com. It's the operating system for the future of work, by which you can make your own company with 3 people and 1,000 agents helping you go and escape your prison of economic circumstances and go and change the world. If you can't afford it and you have really good ideas, we do have some scholarships as well. So we want to do good with AI, not just make profit. And so hope everyone enjoyed this call. And if you have any questions, reach out.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate it. Thanks again for your time. And thanks everyone for being here this week. We'll be back again next week, Wednesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time, with another episode of Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge.